Welcome to Release Readiness Live. I'm Elna Miller, your community moderator. I'm excited to be here this week as we talk about some great new features in the Winter 20 release across all the major clouds. We're here this morning with the team from Service Cloud. What I love about Release Readiness Live is no matter what kind of Trailblazer you are, whether this is your first Salesforce release or your 20th, you'll learn something new that you can use. Our product team is right here in the studio to review the features and show you some live demos, as well as answer some of your questions on the air. Now, speaking of questions, let's take a quick moment to review how this works. We will be monitoring both the Release Readiness Trailblazers community and Twitter, and the most important thing to remember is to use the hashtag #SalesforceLive. I recommend posting your longer, more detailed questions in the community, where the conversation can continue after the webcast. We do have a no question left behind policy, so if we don't get to your questions on the air, don't worry, we'll be sure to follow up with you within a few days. We are recording this broadcast, so you can watch it whenever you like. And special today, you may have already noticed that we are running a sweepstakes this week. The entry form will come up on the screen at the end of this webcast, so you'll need to watch it all the way through to enter for a chance to win a free ticket to Dreamforce. Now, since we may be covering the roadmap, we will be making some forward-looking statements, so please make your purchasing decisions based on currently available functionality. Now, let's meet our product team, starting with you, Priyank. Welcome.
Thanks, Elna. Hello, good morning. My name is Priyank Saxena. I am part of the Service Cloud product management team, and I'm really looking forward to share with you Winter 20 core service features like cases, email, Omni, and productivity tools like Macro.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Kwa Lee. I'm one of the product managers on the Service Cloud team, responsible for the AI for Service space. I'll also be covering some of the bots area today as well. And again, very excited to showcase the work that all of our teams have done to get this great new functionality over to you.
Great. Hi, I'm Peter Chung. I'm part of the product management team for Service Cloud. My focus is on the embedded service for web clients, and I'll be talking to you about all of the exciting releases coming for digital engagement, including messaging and chat.
And hey everyone, my name is Tushar Sharma. I'm part of the Field Service Lightning product team, and very happy to be back here and share all that's coming in Winter 20 and beyond.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I know you have a lot to cover, Priyank, so I'm just going to hand it right over to you so we can dive in.
All right. So before I begin, I just wanted to call out that core services, we have a lot of new features coming up in Winter 20, but based on your feedback and guidance, we have worked to upgrade a lot of our components to Lightning upgradable to Lightning. I hope that will help with your upgrade journey to Lightning. So starting with case and email management, 3 key features for around case feed. Number 1, case feed will now support sorting in both directions, and that is a huge productivity win for agents who are looking to navigate to older posts or newer posts on the case and without clicking and with minimal clicks. Secondly, on case feed, unread items will be visually distinct so that agents won't miss out any important updates and miss out any critical actions. And thirdly, on case feed now, if you're familiar with the email thread, it used to be a little bit cluttered. Now in Winter 20, the email thread will be in default, will be in collapsed. So that will allow you to look at long-running email threads in a very easy fashion. Agent can always click and expand the email thread. Email recipient lookup feature. Now, when you are composing an email from within the case, you can easily click pull into associated contacts and emails from associated contacts right into to and BCC and the CC sections of the email. Coming soon. Case merge is currently in beta, and we have received a lot of good feedback, which team is reviewing and working to GA this feature very soon. Moving on to knowledge. Knowledge has been extensively working on really expanding on the theme around knowledge everywhere. So whatever is your support channel, our vision is to support centrally curated knowledge articles and really share them across all your service channels. So in Winter 20, if you have your conversation channel, you can attach articles directly into chat and messaging. If you can also attach articles to social if Facebook, for example, is one of your support channels. You can also insert article URLs directly into social as well. If your business leverages conversational bots, then you can model the bots to additionally include the same knowledge articles into bot conversations as well. One of the features around multi-select on publishing status. So this was one of the very popular idea exchange topics, and knowledge lists used to be very restrictive, where users had to create multiple lists just to manage the knowledge data. With this feature now, you can select multi-select status and languages, and this will really make your knowledge list management a lot simpler. Coming soon, again for knowledge, there's some productivity features, like you can resize images in Chrome, and when you're curating a content or authoring a content, and you can also insert the article URLs directly into conversation. Currently in Winter 20, you can do that with social. And I will demo some of these features as well to illustrate how these features actually work. Okay, agent productivity and service flows. So tools like macros and service flows allow agents to basically improve agents' productivity by automating repetitive tasks. And service flows allows agents to implement standard best practices around support processes. So in Winter 20, actions and recommendations component, which primarily allowed agents to run guided flows, will now support headless service flows. So headless service flows are very similar to standard service flows, but with the exception that the headless service flows don't have any screens or UX for any user input. So it's a great tool for business who are looking to enforce any compliant compliant support policies within their support lifecycle. Around macros, if you have a console pages with various nested tabs and quick actions spread around those tabs, now this feature will allow you to execute the macros across quick actions which are embedded in various tabs. Currently, one of the limitations of the macros is that it requires those tabs to be in forefront. So I really believe that this will really make your macro execution a lot easier. And coming soon, and this is very interesting, we are really listening to your feedback. So we are actively working on making bulk macros supported in Lightning. And in parallel, we're also looking at single macros, improving performance around single macros, so that single macros can also run in background and really avoid all the animation that comes up with single macros. So stay tuned for macro improvements in next release. Omni-channel. So in-queue prioritization is a super exciting feature for the customers who are looking to prioritize their work items based on custom attributes, and other than just creation date and time. So if you have a business and you have custom attributes like your service SLAs, you can now prioritize work items across these custom attributes. Estimated wait time for chats on mobile. This feature, it's currently in beta phase. It will let your users know what's the estimated wait time, and it's based on previous times and your position in the queue. Okay, so with that, I'm going to jump to demo and show you some of these features. So let me start with the Omni-Channel, and I'm going to click into Service Setup to show this exciting feature around how you configure the custom attributes. So I'm in my quick search. And click on Omni-Channel Settings, and this is the new flag. So it's available Winter 20, and this flag really enables that secondary attribute. So once this flag is checked, you will go into Service Channels, and as I said, this is supported at both skill-based and queue-based channels. So let's look at case, for example. So for this example, I have configured case service channel with 2 additional attributes. So if my service level is premium, I want that work to be routed first, and if it's advanced support, then as a second or priority order. So let's see this in action. So I'm going to go back to my service console, and I'm going to create 2 cases. So before I do that, I want to make sure I am as an agent, I am available, and I'll declare my availability as online cases. Let me create a new case. Let's just call this case number 1, and this is standard support. And I'll change the service level to standard support, and this is a custom field. You can populate it through any mechanism. Standard new, case origin, let's say it's email, and that's all I'm going to set up and save this. And now you can see this case is in first position in my queue. But what happens if now I have another case? So I'm going to create a second case, number 2, which is premium support. And this time I'll leave the service level as premium support and case origin as email. And save the case. So now you can see, since my routing rules gave premium support the higher priority, this case got bumped up first. Okay, so on the topic of, since I'm already on the channel, other key feature I want to highlight is how knowledge now support these articles across multiple channels. So to demo this, I am going to change my omni-channel presence to online chat, and my company already has a community site where customers can log in, customers can create chat and ask questions to my support agents. So I'm going to start my chat session. Say I'm John Doe, my email is john@test.com, subject need help. And I'll initiate my chatting session. And the chat session shows up here. Once I accept, I'm connected. Now, let's say I need help with returns. So here as an agent, I already have a standard article that talks about returns. So as an agent, I can search up returns in the knowledge component and can click on this down arrow and directly insert article into conversation. So this is a great new feature. It's a centrally managed articles that we can share across multiple channels. And I'll insert this article directly into the chat conversation. And as you can see, the article is shared on the chat session. Okay, I'm going to end the chat. Now, since I'm already on the cases, let me walk you through some of the case usability improvements that I talked about. So on the case feed, as you can see, if it's a long-running case with lots of activity, I have to, it requires a lot of scrolling. But now I can sort the case by latest or older posts, and it changes my chronological order where I can see the most historical information around this case. Emails. Similarly, on the case feed, if you have emails with long-running threads, so this is an example of an email which has a long-running thread, and now you can click on, so now by default, the email is in compressed state, and you can expand the email, which will show all the other content of that email. But this will really free up the screen on your console pages. Other feature that I want to quickly show you is on the email. So as I'm composing the email, I can pull in email addresses of my colleagues and the contacts associated to the case. So now they get directly embedded and makes it a lot easier to author these emails. All right, so on the topic of, on the cases, I talked about actions and recommendations as well. So actions and recommendations, which currently support flows, service flows, will now support headless flows as well. So what that means is, now if I have a case, I can add a headless flow. And as you can see, when I execute this headless flow, it runs in the background. And for this example, it creates a lead in behind the scenes for this case. All right, so that's pretty much I have for the demo.
Wow, that's great. Definitely a lot of love for the macros supporting the quick actions on the background tabs. That was from Alex. And I was just wondering, could you clarify one thing? So when you were showing just now the email addressing, and you showed the colleagues and the contacts, how did that work before Winter 20? What did you have to do to combine the two?
Yeah, so great question. Before this feature, the users had to remember the email, and they would actually cut and paste, go into contacts, and would cut and paste the email into the email composer.
Got it. Okay. Now, on the case merge, that's great, by the way. What actually gets copied over from the case that's being deleted to the master?
So the way case merge works is you basically pick 3 cases or number of cases you want to merge, and then it gives you a comparison screen where you can pick which attributes from which of those cases you're merging you want to be the master. So those attributes get carried over and becomes the attributes of your master case.
What about related items? They all come over too?
So they are, there are a few exceptions like history, they get excluded, though it doesn't make sense, but a lot of the other related objects get migrated over.
Okay, great. And I understand this is a beta, right? The case merge is a beta feature?
Case merge is in beta, yes.
So what do we need to be aware of? Because beta features usually means there's something that's not quite fully baked, or perhaps there might be some limitations. So if you could just review those, that would be helpful.
Sure, absolutely. So I think the good thing with the case merge, I think we have a lot of customers testing it out in their sandbox and test orgs, and we're actually overwhelmed with a lot of good feedback from the customers. There were some questions around the users needing some additional function of permissions like delete cases, which some customers are not happy about. So we're evaluating all that feedback into our next before we make this feature generally available to customers.
And is this something you can just turn on if you want to use the beta, or do you have to contact support or anything like that?
You can enable that in Sandbox.
Okay, so test it out in Sandbox.
Test it out in Sandbox, yeah.
But not in production yet?
Not in production yet, yes.
Gotcha, okay. So maybe next release we'll be able to expand
Fingers crossed. We're really hoping that it's a very popular feature.
Usually it's like 1 to 2 releases for a beta to become production. So, but we can't say exactly, because sometimes there are things to be worked out or feedback to be incorporated right before it's...
Yeah, no, we are actively working on this, making this feature generally available.
Gotcha. And let's see, we have some more questions coming in, so I'm going to take one from Linda. Will Omni's new features now support overflow routing for chat? In other words, if I have 2 teams in Omni-Channel, but one is the primary support and the other is backup, can I always route cases to the primary support unless no one is available, and then only route to the backup support if the primary folks are busy?
So I will have to defer this question, and I can definitely get back to the user and with more... with better answer.
It's a great question, because I could definitely see that use case where you would need to, keep all the main chat people busy, and then have some folks to help out if they get overwhelmed, right? But you want to route to them mainly. So I wonder if other folks in the community have done that, and maybe they have a workaround for it, or maybe there's already been some discussion. So Linda, if you have put that question in the community, then maybe we can put the word out to the other Service Cloud customers and see what they do in that case, because I'm sure that case exists in the real world. So
yeah, and I'll reach out to Linda as well to get a better understanding of her use case and get back to her with better answer.
Perfect. And Hannah was asking, so she's got a knowledge question. Can you limit attaching articles to chat functionality to published articles only? In the demo, she noticed you added a non-validated article. So I guess one that hadn't been put through the editing process or the approval process?
Yes, I think there's a rule that you can implement to prevent that.
Got it. I could see that's a good catch there, Hannah. Yogesh was asking, is now this is a flow question, so we covered flow yesterday in the platform session. So if you don't know the answer to this one, we'll have the platform folks follow up. Is a headless flow the same as an auto-launched flow?
Yes, it's a great question. Yes, so it's the under the wrappers, it's the auto-launched flow, and now it's basically available in actions and recommendations.
So basically, 2 names for the same thing. Yeah. And now we have scheduled auto-launched flows. Did you hear about that?
Yes.
Yeah. And then Peggy was asking, how are my colleagues determined? How is that defined?
So that's the users and the way your roles and hierarchies are defined in the users, how your admin has defined it in your organization. Okay. That's how that gets...
The role hierarchy.
The role hierarchy.
Okay, so if you're in the same branch of the role hierarchy and you have the same manager, or does it roll all the way up maybe? Or like, let's say you have multiple levels, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, something like that. Would it roll all the way up to the managers above you, or just mainly your manager?
So I think it kind of goes through how your hierarchy is defined. I think it does roll up to your what the rules are defined by the admin.
Interesting. That's a great question. Richard was asking, can you merge or concatenate fields with case merge? Like, could you say take the description field from the old case and just add it on to the description in the master, as opposed to replacing or...
And so no, merging is not, so you can't concatenate the fields from like 2 cases. You have to pick one of the field as the master.
Another good use case, though.
Good feedback.
See how that'd be useful. Yeah, phone number, not so much, but comments or description. Most of the time, the meat of the case is in the feed or in the related case comments and things like that. That would carry over, right? So that
Yeah.
the real content of what the case is all about and what's been done so far on it. But if it's a big, long description, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a good feedback. I think we should definitely evaluate that as well as part of the...
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and let's move on to Kwa, and let's talk about the next set of features.
Awesome. So we'll jump back to the slides right now, and we'll go ahead and get started with that. All right. So Einstein for Service. So this is all the functionality we've built that's really going to assist your agents be a lot more intelligent and a lot more efficient and potentially automating a lot of the work. And I think that's one of the highlights from this Winter 20 release. The first item you see there, Einstein Case Routing. So what we've done is we've taken the predictions from Einstein Case Classification and created the capability for you to automatically apply those predictions to the case. You can define the confidence threshold of when that happens, and I'll show you that in just a minute. But also, once those predictions have been applied, you can opt to then rerun your routing rules. So in the ideal flow, you can see an email come through, a case is generated, Einstein reads the email essentially, makes a prediction, applies to the case, and then automatically brings it to the right agent, to the right queue to work on. So, allowing folks who maybe spent time doing that tier 0 support to actually work on higher order things of solving the cases and working directly with customers. So I'll show you a demo of that. That's going to be very exciting. One other thing to call out is with Einstein case routing, we've taken the time that it takes for a case to get predictions from 1 hour down to seconds. Depending on your org, it could be 1 second, it could be 5, 20, 30 seconds, but that's our target and that's our SLA. I'm excited to show that to you. To help you be successful on knowing when to roll out Einstein case routing, we've also built a performance dashboard. So you can see with Einstein case classification, how are your agents interacting with the predictions and how is it accurate overall? So what we've done is on the close action of a case, we compare the final value of that case to Einstein's top prediction or top 3 predictions, and you get to see how accurate was Einstein. And I think depending on the data you see there, it'll help you understand, do I want to automate a lot of this routing just quite yet? We're trying to give you the tools to be successful with Einstein, within service. So we have Einstein article recommendations. This has now moved from a pilot to a closed beta. We'll show details in the next slide of what that looks like, but the new features you're going to see, there's now a setup page that you can actually map the fields on knowledge and case in the Einstein article recommendation setup to how it's configured within your org. And again, this is a deep learning model that's going to understand how have your agents used knowledge attaching to cases in the past, and then recommend to agents what the right knowledge article is to solve. So, we've had search in the past, and now we're adding Einstein to hopefully make it more intelligent and more accurate for your agents. We've also got Einstein Reply Recommendations. That's been in pilot, but this release, we've added support for the messaging channel. So not just chat, your agents in the pilot can receive recommendations for messaging channels as well. So we're very excited to extend the functionality, across the various ways that you connect with your customer. All right, so upcoming, for case classification, we also have data segmentation. Now, at a high level, what we're allowing you to do is help us understand your business and the data in your business. If you have one Salesforce org, but you have potentially 2 distinct business units, and you're using Service Cloud to support both, you can let us know that there's 2 different data segments. We'll train off of 2 different sets of data, and that's going to lead hopefully to better accuracy, overall for your predictions. Upcoming, also, we have Einstein article recommendations moving to general availability. So I'm very, very excited about that. So let's actually take a look at Einstein article recommendations, which is currently in a closed beta. So this is open essentially to anybody who wants to join. You'll just need to reach out to support or your AE. But what we're looking for is customers who are on Lightning using Lightning Knowledge and also have a history of at least 1,000 case article attaches. Again, that case article attach is the signal that we use to know that this article was the right article to use for this particular case, and our model learns from those signals. So the more that your agents are actually using that best practice and attaching the article to the case, the better the results that you're going to have in the long term. Currently, we do support only English, but over time we'll continue to roll in other languages as well. All right, so Einstein Reply Recommendations. I just do want to recap what this functionality is. So in our chat and messaging channels, oftentimes our agents are handling, more than one session at a time, and they're asked to cover a wide space of products and areas to support. What Einstein Reply Recommendations does is it pulls from templated responses that will work with your organization to define, and will serve those responses to agents in real time as they're chatting, as they're having a messaging session with the customer. Essentially, hey, this might be what you want to say next. It could be something as simple as a greeting. It could be more complex as to, hey, this is actually the policy related to the question the customer is asking. So very exciting functionality. We've seen some very promising pilot results. So for our pilot, we're looking for customers who are using chat as well as messaging. We're training off of the chat data, and what we're looking for is ideally up to 10,000 historic chats. That helps us train. We're looking at how agents, customers have talked in the past, and that informs us of maybe what the right thing to say for an agent is in the future. So this is also available only in Lightning, and currently we're focused on English only for this particular feature. So again, very exciting work that we're seeing in Einstein for Service that we're doing to target agents to help them be more productive and more intelligent and automate a lot of the simpler tasks as well. So let's jump over to Einstein Bots. The Bots team has worked very hard to make the experience better for your end customers interacting with the bot, as well as yourself and being able to be successful with the bot. So the first item is the ability to automatically end bot chats. So this is being able to kind of build out the rules for a bot to be able to understand, hey, this conversation is at an ending point. It's not just going to hang there. We can go ahead and end that chat to make it feel a little more natural having that conversation with a customer. As Priyank mentioned earlier, we've added the ability to deliver knowledge articles, Lightning knowledge articles over chat, and Bots is also able to leverage this functionality. So you can configure and build your bot to search based off of a customer utterance in chat, and then deliver, a top 1 or even up to a top 3 knowledge articles related to the customer question. And there's a lot of flexibility and power in the bot builder to be able to do this. One thing we've also done is we've opened up our bot platform to connect to third-party NLP providers as well. So, Salesforce has great NLP, but if you're using, Google or IBM or IBM Watson, will allow you to use those and connect to our bot platform. You can pull out what the customer has said, pull out the information that we've pulled already, and be able to drive forward that bot conversation. Something more simple, but I know this is going to be very impactful for customers and their experience chatting with a bot, and hopefully with the agent, is really improving how a bot hands off to the agent, and we're able to check chat availability now actually in doing that. And if an agent's not available, you can define what that experience and message looks like. So again, really thinking about how a bot interacts with the customer to make that a more human, more natural interaction. What we've also done in the setup for bots is really brought forward a lot of the key tools and tips and information to help you be more successful in setting up a bot. So that's going to be natively built in, so you can see that. I do want to call out, I know bots as a journey is something that a lot of customers are thinking about. But it also can be daunting of where do I start and how do I get started? Really, I'd say think about maybe 1 to 3 very simple use cases that are high volume to your organization. Don't try to solve everything in the conversation. Start to solve 1 to 3 simple use cases. And if you can actually start with those, you'll find that you can be successful being able to handle these for customers. And the more advanced things, definitely leverage the functionality to transfer over to an agent and have that human agent have the human connection to be able to solve that problem. We've also done work this release to improve the conversational bot experience. This is in pilot, and this is a lot of improvements that we've done around intent recognition. So please reach out to your AE to get involved with this pilot if you're already a bot customer. And obviously, as we work through, we'll continue to roll this out to everybody as well. Upcoming, so excuse me. So upcoming, we have growing language support for the bot. So in beta now, we have support for, we're in pilot now, we have support for French, German, Italian, Portuguese, and Spanish. And as we continue to work through and develop that, we want to get that to general availability to support your customers in all those regions. What we're also looking to build out is something called Utterance Recommender. And this is really to help you train the bot. Obviously, if we ask you to go through and manually curate a list of 20 to 100 things that a customer might say within an intent, it's a lot of work. What we want to do is leverage machine learning to seed different utterances that you can use to actually train the bot to get that bot successful and to get you more successful a lot faster. All right, so from here, let's jump into a demo of Einstein case routing. Very excited for this functionality. As we mentioned earlier, this is building on top of Einstein case classification. So to start, I want to show you what case classification is today, just to level set. So in this example here, we see a case has already been created, and Einstein's already processed this case. We can see that recommendations are available. But please note that for the language, case reason, escalated, those are all blank, and the priority is set to medium, which is, in this org, a standard value that we have for priority. If we go ahead and look at Einstein recommendations, and we click in, we'll see that we've applied the recommendations, and now we see Einstein's detected this case is in English. It's related to a hardware issue. The router's not working properly. It's high priority, and it should be escalated. Given we see text at the team saying they need it back up and running as soon as possible. So this is Einstein case classification with your agent in the loop. So the agent needs to review those recommendations. So let me actually jump over now to what the setup experience looks like for classification and for case routing and automated triage, because I think that'll help set the picture very clearly as well. You'll notice here on top, I harkened back to this earlier, but we have a performance dashboard, so you can take a look at your specific fields and a date range, and you can see how it's performing for the top recommendation and the top 3 recommendations as well. Jumping down to the auto triage and the case routing. So I mentioned earlier that you can define how any automated action works for Einstein. So case reason, this was an area that we saw predictions there. Select best value, that's actually what you just saw, that when the agent viewed the recommendations, the best value is already selected. How we can interpret this is when Einstein's confidence per a prediction is above 50%, 27% of the time, those predictions won't be above 50%, so there won't be any sort of automated action. 11% of the time, it's going to be potentially incorrect, and 62% likely correct. So we're providing this information so that you can see how case classification automated triage might work for your org and on your data. Your graph here is going to look different than the graph here in our org because our data is going to be different. But let's jump over to the automate value. I think this is what's very exciting in this release. What Einstein's doing here is checking if the prediction for that field for that case is above 52% confidence, we'll go ahead and actually write that value to the case. Again, without a human, without an agent having to get involved to manually do this work. If we scroll down just a little bit, what we'll also see is that you can actually define to rerun the routing rules. If you use skills-based routing or some sort of external routing, we do have a platform event that fires when Einstein actually writes an update to the case, so you can use that as well. So very exciting there. So let's actually take a look at what the experience is going to look like. So an email is coming through right now, from the customer to our service organization. Einstein's processing this, building out figuring out the predictions of what the fields might look to be. And what we'll also know is that Einstein is actually going to make a prediction and write it specifically to the case. Now, what you did notice here, I hope, is that in Omni-Channel, this case has popped up to this agent. The reason why that's happened, and we'll go ahead and accept it, is because Einstein actually automated writing the predictions to the case itself. So we can see hardware issue, priority critical, and language of English. So a lot going on behind the scenes there, but very exciting that Einstein can now actually automatically triage and route your cases. So a lot that we've done in Winter 20, and very excited to see you take advantage of this functionality and share the feedback that you have.
All right, thank you. That was great. Now we do have questions coming in. So the first, of course, most burning question is always, is Einstein for Service an additional cost? Is it an add-on or does it come with Service Cloud?
Yeah, so I would say per feature, we'll continue to communicate on exactly how it's going to be bundled. But as a whole, there are certain features in Einstein for Service that are an add-on in addition to the core service license.
So, it might be good if we could clarify that maybe in the community, which are the features that are included, which ones are an add-on today, and maybe some thoughts about where it might be going in the future.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll definitely share that information inside the community.
Great. And Powell was asking, how does Einstein article recommendation differ from suggested articles?
That's a great question. So what we've actually done is, in terms of user experience, we've built the Einstein article recommendations in the same component. We don't want you to have to change your layout. We don't want to confuse the agent with so many different things bombarding them. The major difference is that the existing suggested component is using search. What Einstein does is now we're using AI, we're using a deep learning approach to actually figure out through the text, through the prior interactions, what the right article is for that particular case. So what you should experience and what your agent should experience ultimately is better, more accurate articles being suggested to the agent, but there shouldn't be any major change in the actual experience itself. We want to make sure that we do this in the right way.
Great. And Cindy was asking, the chat tool that you were showing in Service Cloud, is that included with Service or is that an add-on?
I believe typically chat is going to be included with the digital engagement add-on for Service Cloud.
And if you have a Ultimate UE, it's automatically included as well.
Unlimited edition?
Unlimited.
Yeah, so if you have Unlimited edition, if you have Enterprise or below, then generally you're more a la carte or bundling, because a lot of times it doesn't make sense to have just one feature. You need to have a collection of features, especially with digital where you're looking at different channels and chat being one of them. So thank you for that question, Cindy. So we do have more questions, but I would like to keep going so Peter can have a chance to cover digital engagement, speaking of. So take it away.
Great, thank you. So the first thing I want to cover is around our messaging products. Messaging encompasses all of our over-the-top platforms such as WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger and SMS. Coming in Winter 20, one of the things that we're going to be rolling out is our outbound messaging GA product. This was a pilot in the summer release for being able to send a one-on-one outbound conversation to the messaging end user. We are going into GA in winter, and we are going to be adding the capability to start a conversation from the contact object as well, so you don't have to drill down into the messaging end user. The next is the ability to end a session from the messaging session related list. So if you ever need to stop a conversation, you can stop it from there. And then we'll be adding messaging sessions as a related list to the contact object. So what this means is that in the past, you'd have to go to the contact, drill down to the messaging end user to see a list of all the messaging sessions that they've had. Now you'll be able to access that directly from the contact record itself. So it kind of saves you a couple steps there. Upcoming for messaging, we're going to be looking to go GA for our WhatsApp and WeChat products and channels. So we're broadening the scope of all the channels that we are supporting. We'll be adding shortcode support for the US only for SMS. And then we're going to be expanding our outbound message functionality to the opportunity lead, person account, and case. So a lot of great things are coming there for messaging. Moving on to chat. We're in Winter 20. We will be creating the ability to preview chat details on Hover in Omni-Channel. This was something that was available, I believe, in Classic, but for live agent routing. But we're going to be adding that for the Omni-Channel widget in the Lightning experience. We're going to be adding direct agent routing in Omni-Channel. This is a big product gap for Lightning conversion. So if you this was not available in the past, so being able to direct specific to a specific button or queue using Omni-Channel routing and in Lightning experience is something that has been asked for a lot, I believe. The next is being able to preview files in a chat window. So anytime a file is sent from a customer to the agent, in the past you'd have to kind of make a few clicks to access that file, but now you'll be able to do it directly in the chat window. Just click on it and be able to expand it and view it in the chat itself. Finally, we'll be adding chatter components for the chat transcript record home. This will allow you to view the chatter feed within the chat transcript object. And finally, enhanced case feed tracking. This one, when you end a chat now, the chat transcript will be made available in the case feed itself. So if you have a complex case, for example, that has multiple chat sessions involved, you'll be able to see all the chat sessions in one place in the case feed itself. In the future release, we're going to be adding our pre-chat details, ability to add that directly into a transcript fields itself, so that you'll be able to record that as well for the time going forward. Now, moving on to embedded service, the big thing that we're really been focusing on is our channel menu, and I'll be demoing that in a couple minutes. What the channel menu is we really were thinking about what is the best way for you to let your customers know how to get in touch with you. Chat was a very obvious, has a very obvious solution, but a lot of cases for some of these other channels, such as WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or SMS, sometimes it can be a little bit hard to discover those channels. So we really wanted to be able to give you the ability to empower your customers to choose how they prefer to get in touch with you. So the channel menu is really a way so that you can connect and declaratively add channels quickly, so that once you have them ready and up and running, you can make them available quickly to your customer. Our main focus on this was to make this as declarative as possible, so that you involved as little code. So really, ease of implementation was really a focus of ours. We'll be adding left-right language support on the web client. That's really around Arabic, Hebrew, Urdu, things of that nature. We really want to try to make sure that you can use this in as many languages as possible. On the mobile side, we added functionality to improve the disconnected chat scenarios. So if you were on your mobile, you're in a chat and you go into an elevator in a tunnel and you lose your connectivity periodic or quickly. In the past, you would just get disconnected. So in this case, if you can reconnect back into the chat, we'll keep polling for it. It will allow you to reconnect within a couple minutes and continue your chat. So it's a really great feature. And finally, I think Priyank mentioned this earlier, we're launching a beta for our estimated wait time. So previously, we were able to show a queue position, but we've been taking a lot of feedback from the community to really start working on being able to show actually how much time is remaining. So this is in beta. I think we're still trying to fiddle a little bit with our calculations and making sure that it's as accurate as possible, but that's something that is being released in beta this release. Upcoming, we're going to be focusing on going GA for our channel menu. A lot of what we're going to be focusing on is around the customization aspect. So if you used embedded chat in the past, you'll see that we really want to focus on making sure it matches the brand of your site. So because this is the channel menu and embedded chat exists on your site or your community, we realize that you need to make sure it looks and feels exactly like your site. So things like being able to match colors, being able to match use custom labels so the text matches your tone of your site, and being able to do support multiple languages. Those are all things that we're going to be adding support for before we go GA. Finally, one other thing that will be coming in a future release is around our chat header for embedded chat. We get a lot of feedback that not everybody loves that chat header, so we're looking to refactor and make it a little bit more simple, but also being able to allow customers to update and control the UI using custom Lightning Web Components. For the mobile side, we'll be adding support very soon for Android 10 and iOS 13, and then we'll also be supporting dark mode for iOS, so that if your customers have dark mode set on, it'll match that setting. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into the demo now. And what I have here is I have a page that's I'm hosting. It's not a Salesforce page, even though it might look like one, but it's meant to represent any third-party site. And I have this channel menu down in the corner. So it's a little button that when you click on it, it opens up your menu. You have your little greeting that can kind of tell you what you want, where you're asking. And I'm gonna go ahead and launch into WhatsApp. This will work on desktop web and then mobile web. And then I'm gonna go ahead and launch in. So I've already connected my WhatsApp account to it, and then you can see here that I've already had a conversation with this customer, and I can just type in and say hello, and then this will automatically go into the agent console, and the agent will be able to answer it from there, and then you'll be able to have your conversation. So if I'm in my agent or if I'm in the mobile, it'll go directly into your WhatsApp app as long as you have it installed, and then or else it will prompt you to download the app itself. This kind of pattern will work the same for all of the other channels, such as Facebook. If you're in a text message, in iOS or in Mac OS, it'll take you into your Messages app or your Messages app in your iOS, and so on and so forth. So it's really allow you to kind of be able to swivel into other experiences. I want to go also show you how easy it is to add additional channels. So I'm moving into my setup screen, and I can show you my channel menu here. I'll go into, you can set up different deployments to provide, if you have different configurations that you need to be able to support, it'll allow you to kind of have different configures that you can have on different brand sites or different pages. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna hit the edit button on my menu setup, and you'll see that I have WhatsApp, a phone channel, and SMS set up. So if I go into phone channels, for example, I can just type in a phone number that I want to be able to allow them to click into. And then when you click on it on a mobile phone, for example, it'll just jump you right into your phone app. I'm gonna go ahead and add a chat app on here. So I'm gonna hit the plus button, add item. I'm gonna change my channel type to chat. And then what I'll do is I'm gonna select, I have three different embedded service configurations set up. So I'm gonna go ahead and set the BrewBot for Capricorn and hit save. So the great thing about this setup experience is that this takes into account all the channels you've already set up in your org. So if I have WhatsApp already enabled, if I have SMS support already enabled, I can just go ahead and add that channel type and add that deployment, and it'll automatically link in. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit save here, and then scroll back to my page, and then refresh. And then as soon as I launch it, you'll see that I have web chat up and running.
Wow. It's
pretty quick. And then I'm gonna go ahead and launch that, and then go into my chat conversation. So this is gonna launch a bot conversation. And then I'll just demo real quickly. If I want to transfer to an agent, it'll show check where I am, and it'll say, oh look, there's no agents available because I'm not logged into Omni. And then this will give me the opportunity to continue the conversation instead of rather just ending the chat itself, the bot conversation, so that you can then program your chatbot to submit a case, redirect to a different queue, or do any number of other things, so that you can keep the conversation going and the engagement going with your customer instead of ending it right there. And that is it for my demo.
All right, thanks, Peter. So we do have some questions coming in. Really interesting how you can use all those different channels. And so John, a lot of interest in the person account support. That's kind of the hot topic of the day. John and Bob and Ruth were all asking about that. Specifically, can you just go over again what you said about person account support for the Einstein Bot chat and kind of how that works? Is it supported? And then can you have a person account as the type of contact created as opposed to just a standard contract?
So person account support for chat, I'm guessing it's for the pre-chat scenarios. Right now, out of the box, we support leads and contacts. Person accounts aren't explicitly out of the box supported, but there are ways that you can do that using triggers and extra pre-chat detail fields that you can program into either your code snippet settings file or directly into the code itself on your site. There are a number of different. There's a lot of different conditions that it's really kind of org specific on, what required fields you have. But as long as you you populate those fields with the extra pre-chat, you should be able to create a person account or find or create a person account using the extra pre-chat.
Okay, but that would require some development work.
Yes.
Sounds like. So is it on the roadmap maybe to make it more declarative? Because I know admins love the declarative.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've heard more than a couple times. So it is something we're looking at. We don't have a definitive date on when we were actually going to support it, but it is something we're definitely looking at.
I know that there's a lot of focus on person accounts because we know that people use them, and there are a lot of business scenarios where you just want to create person accounts because you're dealing with individual people. So I can understand the interest. So John was asking, can messaging work with MMS yet?
I believe it's still just as SMS at this moment. I'm not 100% sure where MMS is on the roadmap, but we can check on that and get back to you.
Great. And Andy was asking about enhanced case feed tracking. Does this mean our agents don't have to copy and paste the transcript on the case?
Yes.
Yay! It sounds like a time saver.
Easy question. Easy answer.
And here, this might not be as easy a question from Powell. What happens to the Service Cloud app? It's on Android, but not iOS. Are there any plans for this?
The Service Cloud app isn't part of our digital engagement. I'm not 100% sure what the status of the Service Cloud app is, but we can definitely look into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you post it in the community, we'll definitely be able to loop in the mobile PMs, and they can get you on that one. What about a connection to iMessage?
So SMS, if you have it connected to iMessage, it'll go into iMessage. Yeah. So that'll be there.
Great. And are chats and bots supported on mobile?
Chat and bots are supported on mobile web. I'm sorry. Okay. Well, it is supported on mobile web, and through our service SDK, you can do it natively in the app.
Awesome. All right, so we are ready to move on to Field Service Lightning. So go ahead and take it away, Tushar. Last but not least.
Hi, thanks, Anna. Hi, everyone, again. So in field service, we definitely had a jam-packed release with hundreds of work items making it to the release. A lot of net new features, but also an equal focus on fixing a lot of customer bugs to make our app more stable, and then also make sure trust remains our number one value. So in my 15 minutes here, I would highlight the top 3 features that I'm really excited to show you guys. The first one being mobile timesheets. So this again allows the agents to fill and submit the timesheets on the go from the mobile app. Extended match rules. This allows you as an admin to create a custom criteria to match your service appointments to your service resources. And FSL Health Check. This is a nifty little tool for you to almost see a dashboard of the configurations that you have around scheduling and generally around Field Service Lightning to give you a quick view of how you have configured things and do they really follow the best practices that we recommend. I'll be showing a demo of a few of these. And then coming soon, we have shift management as one of the big features. And then the other one that I'm really excited about is the mobile extension toolkit, which I'll also be talking about in a little bit. So let's double click on these features. The first one being mobile timesheets. So back in summer, we gave you a way to configure your timesheet templates that would then, once you configure them, would automatically generate timesheets for all the users that you assign to those profiles. In this release, we're going to round that feature up and give you a targeted experience for viewing, creating timesheet entries, and then submitting them for approval from the mobile app. So imagine as an end user, you're going about your day job, and then end of the week, you're supposed to fill your timesheets. You can just go to FSL mobile app, log all your time, and then just submit them for approval, at which point it goes, follows the regular platform approval process, and your manager can then either approve, reject, or send it back to you if there are updates needed. Another thing we're going to do with that is also give you a sample flow that you can include to automate some of this creation. So again, imagine how easy it would be for you to just go about fulfilling your service appointments, and that would automatically create timesheet entries for you in the background. So again, excited about this feature. Next one, extended match rule. This is also very powerful in terms of matching or creating your own custom criteria, which you can use to match the service appointment with the right set of resources that it should go to. Again, the example we use here to make it understand more easily is of postal codes. So you can imagine you can create a custom table with a list of postal codes and then assign those codes to different resources using, again, another custom object, a junction object. Then you can have a lookup on your service appointment to that postal code table, and then we would do the matching for you based on the work rule that you set up to match a service appointment to the right set of people based on the postal code. So that's an easy enough example to understand how this feature would work. And then last but not the least, health check, and this is again a beta feature. This is like a dashboard that gives you visibility into all the best practices that we have set up or configured or come to know over the years and over hundreds of implementations and work with our customers. This gives you a really quick snapshot into all the configurations that you have done. Examples like, do you have enough work rules set up in your work policies? Or are all your territory memberships, do they have a correct start and an end date? So these seem like small things, but they can have a big impact on how your org would behave and perform. And this snapshot will tell you if you're following all these best practices, and if not, would also give you recommendations on what you should do to correct them. Now I will move on to a demo and quickly show you some of these features. The first thing I want to show you and also sort of reiterate is how do you set up your timesheet templates. Although this feature came out in summer, but it's all the more important now that you have a way to expose timesheets on mobile app as well. So if you go to your field service settings or just look for timesheet settings on the setup menu, this is the screen you would see. And I'm showing you here, you have way to configure multiple templates. In this case, I've created 2 different templates based on geographies. So I could have a different way to configure timesheets for, let's say, my North America users versus my users from Europe. I'll show you details of one of them. So example, this particular template has a frequency of daily, which means that a timesheet would be created daily for the users in this template. And then I can specify a start date of when the timesheet should start getting created, and my work week. This simply means the days you're supposed to create timesheets, or the days that as an end user I'm supposed to fill those timesheets. And be sure to mark this template as active, because only the active ones show up when you assign them to profiles. So once you create a template or multiple templates, you go to assign profiles and you pick all the profiles. In this case, it would be by geographies, and then simply pick the template that you want to assign to that profile. Once you are done with these steps, what we do in the background is automatically start creating timesheets in advance, and that's usually 24 hours in advance. So for example, if you have a weekly timesheet set up from Monday to Friday, every Sunday you would start seeing timesheets created for all the users that are assigned to that profile. So that's step 1. The next thing you would do is go to field service mobile settings, edit the settings that you use, and you would notice there's a new checkbox here that says enable mobile timesheets. And this is the checkbox you need to check to make sure the timesheets are visible on the mobile app. And this is simply there so that for our customers who do not have a use for timesheets or do not want to expose it on mobile, they can simply uncheck and not show it there. There is a third step, and that's as easy as setting up a platform approval process. And this is again to ensure that once you log your time as an end user and you submit your timesheet for approval, this is the approval process that gets kicked in. You can set up the approval process any way you like, except where user is prompted to choose the approver, because that is not supported by the mobile UI. Besides that, your timesheet can go to a queue or your manager or however you set it up. Now let's jump on to mobile. So again, this is the FSL app that you have come to know and hopefully love. Again, if I'm an end user and I need to fill or view my timesheet, I will go to profile, and once I have that flag checked that I just showed you, you would start seeing a little icon on the top left corner, and if it's an Android app, it's on the top right corner. Once I tap into that icon, you see almost like a list view of the timesheets that are available to you. In this case, it's divided by all your current timesheets, which mean if you happen to be within the dates of a timesheet, for example, today is 25th, and this timesheet is between 22nd to 29th, that would show up in the current timesheets. This is a list view. For some reason, if you have more than one current timesheet, we support that, but ideally, I would imagine you would only have one timesheet. So a couple of things to note here. What we do is we take the timesheet start and end and concatenate that and show that as a header. The second line or the second row is compact layout driven, so you can choose whatever fields you want to put there. And then the third row is coming from the approval process. So as soon as I submit this timesheet, a process instance for approval process is created, and the status from that instance is coming and showing up here. Once I tap on view timesheets, it takes me to details of that timesheet. So you'll notice here what we have done is for each of the days of that timesheet, we have divided that into its own subgroup. So it's easy for me to view the hours that I have logged in for each of the day. So for example, Sunday I worked 8 hours, and then let's say 25th today I don't have any hours worked. So what I would do is hit the little plus sign, and then that would allow me to create a timesheet entry. So I'm in RRL right now, and then it's probably an indirect timesheet. I'm not going to bill customer for that. And then save it, and you would see a timesheet entry is created for me. And what it also does is it totals up the hours for the day, and it will give you a hint of how many hours you've worked on that day. So just to quickly see if you're missing hours on a particular day. The other things you can do here, you see this overflow menu. You can tap that to either edit your timesheet or again delete your timesheet if you don't want to use that anymore. Again, all these fields on this UI are layout driven, so you can choose to you can decide which fields you want to show here or not. You also have ways to attach or associate a work order or a work order line item to that timesheet entry. Going back to the list view, I would show you a way to get to your past timesheets. So let's say you've submitted your current timesheets and you want to know what was the status on your previous timesheets. You can view them here. You can drill down to details of each one of these. And again, we load up to 100 past timesheets, so I'm hoping that's more than enough for you to go back and see what you did in past 100 weeks, I guess. So the other thing you would do to complete this process is once you have logged in your time, you would submit that timesheet. There's a couple of things we do here besides showing you, are you sure? We make a round trip to server and download the latest timesheet that you have on the server just to ensure that it's up to date on your local as well, because this does work offline as well. If it is not up to date, we will prompt that and guide you back to the timesheet details to again double check if everything looks okay before you actually submit it. And then once you do submit, I have a required field missing, but what happens once you submit is the status goes to pending, and at that point you know that it's in your manager's queue to actually look at it and hopefully approve it or reject it with the reason that is also again viewable on your mobile app. So that's about timesheet. There's one more quick demo I want to show you, which is around the extended match rule. So in this case, what you really have to do is, besides creating a custom table and then having, in the example I showed you where you could create a custom table, add your postal codes, and then have a junction table to your service resource to assign what postal codes a particular resource works in. Once you've done that setup, what you do is you go to your work rule, create a new work rule or edit an existing one. In this case, I have an existing one called postal code, and then I use this lightning widget here to define what object I want to use for criteria matching. In this case, it's postal code object, and then there's a linking object called postal code coverage. I can specify a start and end date on that object and make it time phased, which just means that that rule will only apply for that period of time. And then on the rule itself, I specify what are the matching fields. So on service appointment, I have a lookup for postal code, and then I specify which object it's coming from and what's the reference field. And this will allow us to link a service appointment to a postal code object, and then through the junction object to the service resource. And once you use this work rule in a scheduling policy, that policy will take into account that custom criteria that you have, and it will try to match an appointment to a particular resource. Now, postal code was just an example. You can imagine creating any custom object, having any lookup field on service appointment, and have your own criteria that way. So I think that's what I had for the demo. I will move back to slides and give you a quick sneak preview of what's coming. One of the big features that we are really excited about is shift scheduling or shift management. This is a way for your shift managers or dispatchers or field service managers to create and visualize a more flexible schedule of all your users. We already have a way using operating hours to set schedules for all your resources. Shift scheduling is supposed to work together with operating hours for use cases. There are a bunch of use cases. The bigger one would be for setting up shifts for either on-call or weekend or holiday on top of your operating hours, or you could just use shift scheduling to define a flexible schedule for all your users. What we'll have coming up as the first part of the upcoming releases would be a UI that you can then use to view and create these shifts and assign them to the right people, and also categorize all your shifts based on either service territories or a skill set. So that's one of the big features. Once you do create these shifts and assign them to the users and confirm them, they actually then become availability of those people based on the shift timings. The other big feature we have coming, and again really excited about this one, is mobile extension toolkit. This again is way to extend the mobile app to have your own UI on top of the FSL mobile app. So we have heard feedback from a lot of our FSL customers that they would want to customize app a lot more than what you can already do, and our answer to that is create an HTML5 UI which plugs into our local database and all the Salesforce APIs, and show that UI on top of our FSL mobile app. You can surface it either through a record action or a global action, or in future even as a sub menu item or just a menu item on the FSL app. So again, a big feature that we will be working on through the next year. That is all I had.
All right. Thank you, Tushar. That was great. And I love the health check, because I could definitely see how that would be an admin's best friend. I mean, thinking of field service lightning, it could be a fairly complex setup with a lot of moving parts, a lot of details. Things have to be, one thing over here has to be aligned with something over there.
Exactly.
And so, and think like a lot of admins will take over an org from another admin, and this would get them started with what did the previous person do that maybe they can clean up a little. So that's great. I love that. Also, timesheets, very popular among the audience. They're great. And you mentioned there was a beta. So could you just explain how you could access the beta if you wanted to use it?
Right. So in summer, the template creation part was based on permission, so you had to contact Salesforce to do that. But now in winter, we would open that up. So it'll be as simple as just going into the settings and setting that template up. And once you enable the mobile timesheet, you are able to see it on your mobile app. And it is marked as beta, but it's absolutely okay to use that in production, and we'll be looking for feedback.
Oh, great. So you could just go into the setup and click a box to turn
Yep.
it on? Or,
That's,
oh, great.
That's what you do.
Love those kind of betas. Now, what about automations? Are there any automations for timesheets that you can create entries, let's say, on behalf of users?
Right. Yeah. So just like I mentioned, we'll also be giving customers a sample flow in form of flow template that you can import and then make it your own. And so think about a use case where you're updating your status on your service appointment or making changes to your work order, and that would then use that flow to automatically create timesheet entries for you. So all you do end of the week is go verify those entries if they look okay, and then submit your timesheet. So we're working on that.
Oh, that's nice. Looking forward to hearing that. Thank you. All right, so we have a couple minutes, 1 minute left, maybe 2, maybe 3. So I want to try to sneak in a few more questions that came in for our other speakers, and then we'll wrap up and come back a little later. So Mona was asking, are images supported when inserting a knowledge article into chat? If you have a knowledge article with images in chat.
Right now, I believe it's just text.
Just text for now.
Yeah.
That would be a great thing to have, though, wouldn't it? Yeah. Sherry wants to know, do you still need delete permissions for case merge?
Yes. Yes. I mean, that's how it is set up right now.
Yeah, bottom line,
Yeah.
you're still deleting
You're still
cases,
deleting
right?
the other cases. So
Right. So don't give that out to people you don't trust, basically.
exactly right. And that was one of the number one feedback from a lot of the customers.
Yeah, people want to restrict it, and that's
Right.
the easiest way to do it, right? With who can delete. Luciana wanted to know, can we restrict which flows we want to show under the guided actions? For example, some flows will not be relevant to certain support departments.
Yes. So you can create deployment for your when you're setting up the component, and there, depending on what part of organization, what business process, you can configure which flows should appear on actions and recommendations component.
Okay, great. Now, Mark wants to know, if we wanted to try out Einstein for Service, how could we build a prototype or a demo of it if we need thousands of records and we generally want to start with a blank demo org? Or would you suggest doing it in the production org?
I mean, if this is for a customer org, what I would say is, copy over the information you need into the sandbox that you want to do the testing in. That's definitely what I would recommend. You want to use data that is representative of your actual org, because that's going to actually drive results and show how it's going to perform in your actual production instance.
So I'm thinking that would require either a partial sandbox or a full sandbox.
Correct.
Right. Could you do it with a partial, maybe?
I would recommend full if possible.
Okay.
Just because, again, we're training off of your data and your prior interactions. If there's a partial view of it, the performance that you see in sandbox, probably won't represent what you'll actually see in production.
Okay. Right. Thank you. All right. Well, we're going to need to wrap it up. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And if we didn't get to your question live, don't worry. We'll follow up with you within the next few days. And also, this has been recorded, so you can rewatch it anytime or share it with your colleagues. Come right back here today. Join us again at 11:45 Pacific for the Marketing Cloud Live. And I cannot wait to hear how you're using new features to innovate. So let's keep the conversation going in the release readiness community, where all Trailblazers can meet to be release ready. And don't forget to click on the sweepstakes. It's going to come up in just a second, and it will. There's just a button that you can click on, and if you've pre-registered, it'll just send your entry right through with one click. Otherwise, you might get a form to fill out. So definitely do that, and we'll see you later.